Readings of Almighty God's words on the pursuit of the truth. How to pursue the truth. 24. The main topic we will fellowship on is God incarnate's principles of self-conduct and His ways of doing things in His life and existence. Through my fellowship on these two aspects, you will come to better understand the normality and practicality of God incarnate, and understand God incarnate more. In one respect, living among humankind, God incarnate has a principle for how He conducts Himself, and He also has a principle for how He does things. These principles are very simple. My principle for my self-conduct is to conduct myself in a rule-abiding manner, and my principle for doing things is to do them dutifully. Conducting myself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully, these are my principles and credos for how I conduct myself and how I do things. How many words is that in total?
10 words.
These 10 words are very simple, and their literal meaning is quite easy to understand. They are not at all abstract or hollow, not at all profound, and not at all lofty and grand. Conducting myself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully, these are my principles and credos for how I conduct myself and how I do things. I abide by these principles when conducting myself and doing things. This is exactly how I do it. Can you see that this is a fact? Can you match this up with the facts? In one respect, when I preach and fellowship, when I come into contact and interact with people, and when I chat with people, I always tell them to conduct themselves in this way. In another respect, I myself also conduct myself in this way. I don't shout slogans. Then why do I tell people about these principles? It's because I myself do things and conduct myself in this way. There's nothing else going on that's profound. Some people say, these credos of yours for conducting yourself are quite homespun. They're not refined at all. They can't represent the identity of the incarnate God. Is this correct? Conducting myself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully, these are principles and credos. I practice them in my daily life, and I also practice them when performing my ministry, which is to say, when doing work. This is how I conduct myself, and this is how I do things. Let's just talk about these things as if we are chatting and making small talk, so that you can relax a bit and learn a bit more about my life from me. Is that okay? If at some point in our chat, some of you say, I object, what you say does not accord with your manifestations, then I will try to restate it, and I will correct it or rectify it in the future. If some of you raise your hands and say, I agree, what you say accords perfectly with what we have seen and heard you reveal in your life. What you say is a fact. Then I will keep it up. Is that okay? Conducting myself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully, whether in life or in work, I hold fast to these credos. You have probably been able to appreciate them quite a bit in the work I do. So let's first talk about how they apply to my life. God incarnate is a person who possesses a special identity among humankind. But when doing things, he does not act like he is special at all. He never treats himself as a special figure. He is just an ordinary person. Whichever country he's in, he abides by the laws and regulations of that country. If there is something he needs to do but doesn't understand, he quickly consults and finds out what the local laws and policies stipulate, what is illegal to do and what is not, and he does it however is appropriate, without giving himself privileged treatment. Is doing things in this way being rule-abiding, and is it being dutiful? This is conducting himself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully. In a free and democratic country, if he needs to understand the relevant laws to get things done, he consults a lawyer or looks up the laws and regulations. He does not do illegal things, nor does he exploit legal loopholes. He strictly abides by the laws and regulations, because the laws and regulations of most countries protect the legitimate rights and interests of individuals, and are what people should abide by. For example, if we are doing some construction in the yard and need to place something there, we must first find out what the government regulations are on this, whether this thing can be placed in the yard, and if so, where it is appropriate to do so. After getting clarity about the details, we do things according to the government's regulations. If the government does not allow it, then we won't do it. We won't try to stir up trouble unreasonably, and we absolutely will not knowingly violate the law to do it. For example, if we want to build some kind of structure, we need to apply for government approval. Once the government approves it, construction can begin. When the project is completed, it still needs to pass a government inspection. If it passes inspection, we can use it with peace of mind. This is the procedure for construction. Some people might say, for this kind of small project, does the government stipulate that we have to get approval? If it's optional, there's no need to go through with it. We can save ourselves the trouble. I say, we must find out for sure. What if it does require government approval, and we don't get it? Wouldn't we be violating the regulations? We mustn't violate them. Since we are going to build this structure, we should try to get approval. If the government says there's no need to get approval, we'll feel at ease not applying for it. If the government says it must be approved, then our applying for approval will be reasonable and law-abiding. For anything involving the law or government regulations, we must consult and find out for sure. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome if something goes wrong. A basic rule of living abroad is to not do anything illegal or anything that violates government regulations. For example, if we're living in the countryside and we want to raise chickens or sheep, we have to get government approval. The government has detailed regulations for these things, and we absolutely must not violate them or try to get special privileges. If we violate government regulations and get caught, it will be very troublesome. So this requires that we abide by the law, and it also involves the principles of how we conduct ourselves and how we live. No matter where we live, we should conduct ourselves in a rule-abiding manner and do things dutifully. In my daily life, I also interact with my neighbors in a rule-abiding manner. I don't make noise or disturb others. No matter what the government stipulates, we must abide by it. Even if you keep a dog, you have to take proper care of it so it doesn't bark constantly and disturb the neighbor's rest. Especially on weekends when your neighbors are all at home, you have to be even more careful to not disturb them. When it snows in winter, you have to wait until after 8 o'clock in the morning to start clearing the snow. Clearing snow too early creates noise that will disturb your neighbor's rest and annoy them. If the government has explicit regulations, you have to abide by them. Don't intentionally violate government regulations. Don't get on the wrong side of the government. This is called conducting oneself in a rule-abiding manner. No matter where I stay, I basically make no noise. I never play music outside, and I don't make a racket or speak loudly. When walking the dog, I don't let it constantly bark. I try my best to not disturb my neighbors, to not interfere with their lives, and to not annoy them. Isn't this conducting oneself in a rule-abiding manner? That's why I've gotten along well with my neighbors for many years now. We live in peace with each other, give a greeting when we see each other, and coexist in a friendly, amicable way. No matter where we live, we must abide by the rules when interacting with our neighbors. We must not cause trouble for them, and we needn't be servile either. We should treat others correctly and do things fairly and justly. If we do this, there will not be any conflicts over time. Regarding the issue of God incarnate conducting himself in a rule-abiding manner, some people say, "Isn't this a very normal thing?" To which I say, you are absolutely right. It is just that normal. Where does this normality come from? It comes from the conscience and reason of humanity. Precisely because God incarnate possesses the optimized conscience and reason of normal humanity, when it comes to self-conduct, something people consider to be a very unremarkable issue, the principle he abides by is also very unremarkable, being rule-abiding. After hearing this, some people might say, "What's so important about this? Is it even worth bringing up? Is this being normal and practical?" These are trivial matters. Be that as it may, God incarnate conducting himself in a rule-abiding manner is a manifestation of his normality and practicality. So it's worth talking about, and it's worthwhile for people to have knowledge of it. People think that it's unremarkable for me to conduct myself in a rule-abiding manner. But what if I gave myself privileged treatment everywhere in my life and flaunted myself at every opportunity, saying, "I am Christ. I come from heaven. I am like no one else. Among humankind, I am one of a kind. All of humankind, all living things, and all creatures must be trampled under my feet. All things are my footstool." Whether one is a believer in God or a non-believer, everyone must bow down and worship me. When they come before me, they must all be deferential and respectful. Would this be normal? That would be abnormal. Do you find that I act like that? I do not act that way. I get along amicably with everyone I can come into contact with, especially non-believers. I treat them and interact with them according to rules and etiquette. When discussing or consulting about anything with people, I am particularly respectful of them. When there is something I don't understand, I ask and inquire more, and some people are very patient in helping to answer my questions. Of course, it's not the case that I only conduct myself in a rule-abiding manner to repay them for this treatment. Rather, it's because, living in this real environment, God incarnate inherently abides by such a principle when interacting with people and getting things done. For example, a library is a place for reading and studying. When you go there, you should abide by its rules. You cannot be noisy, and you should try to avoid talking as much as possible. If you want to speak, you should lower your voice or go outside, and especially if your phone rings, you should quickly go outside to answer it, all so as not to disturb or affect others' reading. This is called abiding by the rules. In this kind of environment, if I get a call, I will go outside to answer it. Some people say, "Who doesn't know this?" There really are people who don't know this. In some restaurants, supermarkets, and places where people go to get things done in the West, you can often hear some people speaking very loudly, and the servers and staff there feel particularly repulsed. Some Asians in particular do not understand the rules at all and appear extremely low class. In some places, there are clearly written rules, but they act as if they didn't see them at all. Even if they see rules written in their mother tongue, they do not abide by them and even violate them. When staff members remind them, they even argue with them. Isn't this making a fool of oneself? Some people are used to throwing their weight around in their home country. When they come to the West, they still think it's their own turf, acting aggressively and strutting around like gorillas, not abiding by the rules at all. As a result, wherever they go, they make people loathe them and feel repulsed. Some people even cause trouble when taking a test at the DMV. Afterward, when they see their countrymen, they even proclaim, "We Chinese are free wherever we go. We're never inclined to abide by the rules. The more casual we can be, the better. If anyone tries to discipline me, I'll make a huge scene." Isn't someone like this a living devil? Do you think you're in your home country, where you can throw your weight around if you have power and influence? You're overseas, in a country governed by the rule of law. If you violate laws and regulations, you have to bear legal responsibility. Abiding by laws and regulations is the very least a person should do. If someone doesn't even understand these basic rules, they are completely devoid of human likeness. I am generally very cautious in public places, especially when going to government agencies to handle matters. I act with caution and avoid violating their rules. No matter what form I fill out or what questions I answer, I always act according to the rules. After having handled matters a few times, I've gained experience. Abiding by the rules is easy. What's worrying is not understanding the rules. Never mind making a fool of oneself. Could it affect getting things done? It might. So one must conduct oneself in a rule-abiding manner. Westerners are basically able to achieve these things. The incarnate God has normal rationality and conscience, so of course he can achieve them too, and he does so proactively. He does not classify himself as one of a kind among created humankind, nor does he ever bypass these laws and regulations to seek privilege for himself. No matter what business I'm handling at a government agency, I always follow the procedures. I never make demands, saying, "I have a special status and a special identity. Can you give me some special treatment?" For one thing, I don't consult anyone to find this kind of avenue. For another, I never pray to the God in heaven, saying, "God, can you perform signs and wonders for me, accomplishing this matter instantly, so that I don't have to follow these procedures like humans do?" I never pray like this. Instead, I handle matters according to the procedures in a rule-abiding manner. Of course, when handling these matters, I will also encounter some special circumstances. Special circumstances require special handling. If a fee needs to be paid, I pay it. If I need to wait, I wait. If I need to apply for something or get confirmation from the government again, then I apply and get confirmation again. I will definitely follow the procedures strictly according to the laws and regulations, and will not go over anyone's head. Whether I am shopping at a supermarket or handling matters at a government agency, if people are lining up, I line up with them. When it's my turn, I promptly step forward. Whatever they ask me to do, I do it in a rule-abiding manner according to their requirements. This is how I conduct myself. When encountering things in life, this is how I act and experience them. Although there are some special times where I will suffer some grievances, it never affects my credos of conducting myself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully. I still do what I ought to do. I, in particular, look Asian, have a small build and an average appearance, don't speak in a loud voice, and seem ordinary and average to people, don't stand out in a crowd, and don't draw anyone's attention at all. Therefore, when handling matters in some special environments, I face varying degrees of discrimination, or receive varying degrees of special treatment. If you encountered these things, what would you do? Would you argue with those people, file a complaint against them, or pray to God to curse them? Which method would you adopt?
If the circumstances are right, I might argue with them.
And would you pray in your heart to curse them?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would be quite angry inside.
When you are treated differently or discriminated against, you should let things cool off. As for me, I do not pray to curse them, nor do I argue or dispute things with them. Instead, I let things cool off and approach them correctly. I'll feel somewhat uncomfortable in my heart, but after a few days, I'll be fine. I'll have come to terms with it. Even if you bear an insult to your dignity and integrity, you cannot exhibit impetuousness. You cannot handle things in an impetuous way. Then, how should you handle them? If someone discriminates against you or insults you, you should treat them with patience, stay away from them, and not exhibit impetuousness. Then they cannot do anything to you. Just treat taking a bit of a loss this time as a lesson. If I encounter this kind of thing, owing to the rationality and conscience of my normal humanity, I will feel hurt, and I will also feel that my integrity and dignity have taken a blow. I'll feel uncomfortable and pained inside. But I will absolutely not feel wronged because I have a special identity and a special status. Much less will I hate or curse those who discriminate against me. The older I get, the more I feel that these things are perfectly normal. Living in this human world, among such corrupt humankind, these things are perfectly normal. I feel this way not because I am used to such things and have become numb to them, but because people are all corrupt humans. Their discrimination is not directed at you personally. Rather, the entire human race is like this. You see, in the U.S., a multiracial country of immigrants, people of every race will say they have been discriminated against. Even white people will claim this. People will face discrimination on different occasions, in different environments, and among different groups of people. Sometimes it's discrimination from other races, and sometimes one also faces some discrimination or unfair treatment from one's own race. What you consider discrimination might just be the most common way of handling things when it comes to how corrupt humans treat each other. This is exactly how this humankind is. So don't take such things too seriously. It's normal to be angry, but you should quickly see through these matters and then let them go. Don't approach them in an impetuous way. Don't think about taking revenge on anyone or pray to curse anyone. Don't feel that you're not average. You are an average person, and that's how others treat you. If they see you're a pushover, they'll bully you. Isn't this perfectly normal? Don't rely on notions and imaginings to think, I am not an average person. I have such high worth and such high status. I will pray to curse whoever bullies me. If I told you who's backing me, it would scare the pants off you. When I hold power in the future, I'll make you kneel and beg for mercy, and I'll make you kowtow like a chicken pecking at rice. I have never had such thoughts. There's discrimination everywhere in the world. People's discrimination is not directed at you alone. This world itself is full of unfairness, discrimination, all kinds of wickedness, and all kinds of evil doing. When I encounter such things, because I don't treat myself as any kind of special figure, it's very easy for me to let these things go. Is this not also abiding by the credos of conducting oneself in a rule-abiding manner and doing things dutifully?